How's it, everybody? And welcome back to BandscoreCast, the channel where we talk about everything IELTS. I'm your host, Adam Windsor, and I'm your host for today and all future episodes of BandscoreCast. And today we're going to be talking about the Twin Question Essay, which is the third of three essays that we can do as part of the IELTS exam. As I mentioned in the last episode, there are many IELTS teachers across the world who will teach this differently. However, I've distilled the essay questions really down to three separate templates, so you don't have to learn sort of, 3, 4, 5, well, obviously more than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different template styles. So before we kick it off, if you like what you see on today's episode, please give us a big thumbs up and consider subscribing so don't miss out on any future content. The other way you can support the channel is directly via our Patreon page at patreon.com/BandscoreCast, where you can enjoy many benefits, including having access to my full library of work and having the opportunity to submit Task 1 and Task 2 writing pieces, some of which I will correct right here on this channel. The other thing we do every episode is we call out one of our awesome patrons that supports the channel. And today I'd like to call out Ellie Garriga. Ellie, you rock. Thanks for all your support and your continued support to this date. So thanks again, Ellie. All right, guys. So what are we talking about today? We're really talking about twin question essays. Those of you who have sat the IELTS test before, you'll know that there are many different styles of essays that could be given to you or could be asked of you to write. So far in this series, we've looked at the argument essay, we've looked at discussion essay, and today we're going to look at twin question essays. And before we do that, we're going to sort of talk about the class structure and how we're going to attack this. So very similar to the last two episodes, we're going to look at question types and how to identify a twin question essay, after which we'll be looking at brainstorming vocabulary and what that really means. After which we'll do the ideas matrix and how that sort of plays a very important role in us producing the content at the end. The essay framework, obviously, and at the end of the episode, we'll be looking at giving you guys the copy of, or giving you guys access to the copy of the essay that we do here with me right now. This is live, guys. We are live. We are doing this live. So I'm really excited to deliver this to you today. And yeah, let's get it going on. All right. The question we're going to be looking at today is a twin question essay. The question here is, it's about family trees, about your family history. So conducting research into one's family tree is now common. Do you think it's a waste of time? And what can result from doing so? So the first thing we do in the essay is to think to ourselves, okay, what type of essay is this? We can see that there are two questions here. We've got our, do you think it's a waste of time? And we've also got, what can result from doing so? There are two questions, which indicates it is a twin question essay. So we can identify that question very, very quickly. Okay, so really anything with sort of two questions in it with the IELTS essay section, you could classify as a twin question essay. We're now going to look at some relevant vocabulary for this piece of writing. So let's start that off now. Okay, so the words that I've got listed here, again, family history. Let's think about some key words here. So ancestors would probably be a key one, your ancestors being those in your family, connected with your family. Background, talking about the background of your family. Genetics. So this obviously would play a part in the traits that we see in our family today and us and those from our past. We can talk about the exercise being quite costly. So to do this type of exercise is not necessarily cheap. We need to invest a lot of time and energy to do that. Looking at also relatives, those that are connected to our family. The other next word I've got here is culture. Obviously, if we're looking back into our family history, we're going to explore different parts of culture and different parts of our family culture. Regions, regional regions, as in where did our family live? Which regions in the world did they live? We can look at a collocation, learn about. We can learn about our families, obviously through this process, and we can talk about if this if this is actually beneficial or not. Is this process beneficial? Does it provide you any value as you go through the process? And the last one I've just got here is family tree. So this is something that, it's when we think about researching your family history, one of the most common keywords would be family tree. So what you've got here is your vocab. Now, if we were doing this in the real test, I'm slowing it down a bit today, but if we were doing this in the real test, we'd probably give 60 seconds to the brainstorm vocabulary section, in which case you would probably only hit maybe 5 or 6 words. We've got 10 here. The reason we do this step in the process, we do it for 60 seconds, is it's like going to the gym and warming up. You know, when you go to the gym, you don't start doing all your exercises straight away. We need to warm up. We need to stretch our arms. We need to stretch our legs. And we need to get ready for the test. So this is a way to sort of get the brain ready and moving and ready to go. From here, we move into what's called the ideas matrix. Now remember, none of this will be given to you in the test. The only thing that will be given to you is the actual question. So we have to sort of think to ourselves, okay, we've got the question. What do we do with that question now? So we've got our vocab. Next, we do our ideas matrix. You'll notice I've got a couple of things here. The last episode I talked about this ideas matrix. We're going to use the same ideas matrix for every essay that we teach. However, some of the areas are not necessarily going to be relevant. So on the left here we see, do you think it's a waste of time? And what can result from doing so? Now, in twin question essays, there are generally 2 different styles of questions in those 2 questions. The left you can see is more of a yes or no answer. Do you think it's a waste of time? Yes or no. That's called a closed question. On the right, we can see what can result from doing so, and that would be interpreted more as an open question. So closed questions are yes or no. Open questions request us to give actual responses to the question. Now, I've come up with a little bit of a formula, a sentence formula for the do you think it's a waste of time. I'm going to do this for you guys here. Let's just delete those 2 little dots. So we're going to start by saying, considering the question around X, okay, and then we go. So we'll fill the X's in later, but this is just the sort of the structure of the top. Considering the question around X, okay, I firmly believe X, and then would say owing to X. So it's basically saying, thinking about this question of X being, do you think it's a waste of time? I firmly believe, and then you give your position, owing to the fact of something. So you would back that up with some short statement. My position in the twin question essay writing is try to respond to the closed question in 1 sentence. And then when we go to the other side, which is the open question, we then list points that support that. So closed question, 1 sentence, open question, multiple points. Let's do that now. So what can result from us doing this research? It doesn't say positives or negatives, it just says what can result. So let's do that now. The first point is we can discover the geographic regions where our family lived. And discover the culture that really surrounded those communities, which is a pretty sort of cool concept when you think about it. The next one is, the other really interesting part about this is you could discover the social status of your family. You know, were they rich? Were they poor? Were they middle class? Were they royalty? Were they in the military? This would be quite interesting to discover. Were any of them famous? That would be interesting. The next thing we're going to do is I'll leave the contrast for the moment. We're now going to keep listing our supporting arguments. The next idea here we've got is any infamous relatives. Now, infamy is when you do something and you're famous for the wrong reason. So if you're famous for good reasons. If you're infamous, you're generally famous for the wrong reasons. So infamous relatives, you could say, sort of leading to sadness. So you discover that they're actually a murderer, and you think, whoa, that was the last thing I came here to discover. The next thing we want to look in, the next point we want to discover is we may uncover diseases in our genetic past, in our family history. So we can talk about those. We can say, genetic diseases. There it is, genetic diseases. Now, what we have here is essentially we've got 2 positive reasons, or sorry, 2 positive results and 2, we say, negative results. As we mentioned in previous episodes of this channel, what you need to do when you do this matrix, it's like a conversation between 2 people. So for example, imagine standing up in front of 500 people and you say, hello, I believe the results of doing research into your family tree are, you can discover the geographic regions and culture of your family, you can discover the social status of your family, and then someone from the audience stands up and says, yeah, Adam, but. So they're going to challenge us here. And the challenge that we could put here is something like, it's costly. You know, we talked about that before. It can be a very costly exercise to research your family tree. Not only costly, but we could argue it's time consuming. So, you know, this wouldn't be done in a couple of hours. We're talking about days, weeks to do this type of thing. Underneath that, we're going to do the same thing. So imagine standing up in front of 500 people and saying, hello, my name's Adam. The arguments I have here is what can result from doing so. One, you may discover infamous relatives, which could make you sad. You might discover genetic diseases in your family, which you may actually show, which you may inherit and start being symptomatic, you know, in this lifetime. But then someone says, yeah, Adam, but, and the but here is you can diagnose that and treat it early. So you could say here, early diagnosis and treatment. So this is an interesting discussion. So we may discover things that we are not, you know, that might scare us, but at least we might be able to combat that or tackle that now. All right, guys. Next part of that's me. Hello. This is the document I'm going to give you guys at the end of today. So you can you feel confident with respect to doing the test in the future. We are live. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming. If you are joining us live, that's awesome. Thank you again. Before we start, I just wanted to talk about the essay structures. And we've talked about these in previous episodes. The essay structures are sentence structures that are used to formulate the arguments that we have just mapped. So we do that with 5 different structure forms. And this is really to help us stay calm when we do the test. So we're going to go into this test. We're going to brainstorm our vocab. We're going to come up with our ideas. And then we think, okay, what do I do now? How do I get those ideas into sentences that actually make sense? The method that I've come up with over the last few years is as follows. So we could use what's called the if, the by, the when, the verb ing, or the noun form. So how that works is these words follow the following words. Firstly, moreover, additionally, and furthermore. So what can happen here is, let's just take an example. We've got this first sentence. If governments reduce the number of car parks in cities and use that space for bicycle lanes instead, people can be encouraged to leave their cars at home. So here we have the firstly. Then we've got the if, which is up here. If is followed by comma, noun. So here we have if, blah, 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 comma, noun. Good. That allows us to get one of those points down into that format. We can also say moreover. Then we could say, it can be argued. Now, it can be argued is a piece of language that can be injected into any of these sentences. Sometimes we put it in, sometimes we don't. So we could say, firstly, it can be argued that if, and we haven't because we're just going to make sure that this is different throughout the essay. So moreover, it can be argued that when. So here we have a when, this one here. Moreover, it can be argued that when more and more people move to big cities, unemployment can increase. So again, we've got if, when, noun, noun. Similarly, we've got by plus ing. So we've got the by here. So by scheduling more public transport options for commuters, it can be argued that more people. So again, we've got if, by, when, comma, 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 noun, noun, noun. The last two are verb ing and noun. So we've got here, additionally, educating children about the risks associated with the use of the internet can help them to understand the dangers that exist online. So after ing verbs, we go straight into the modal verb can. We've then got our furthermore. When we start with a noun, which is the introduction, we also follow with a modal verb, in this case, can. So think about this. If, by, when, comma, 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 noun, 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 or ing verb, noun, followed by can. If we do that, we're going to feel very confident when we do the exam, and we're going to be able to go in there and actually produce pretty good sentences. All right, guys. So the next part of this little exercise is I'm not going to write this word for word. I'm going to copy and paste pre-prepared sentences that I've done for you. And it's more to talk about strategy. So I'd like to cut and paste the sentence now and then talk about strategy. So the first sentence I'm going to copy across is what's called the helicopter overview. This allows us to start the essay and not be too specific about anything in particular. Here we go. So this essay is about family trees. So when we want to talk generally about family tree research, the grammar that we always talk about is when you start a sentence with the word over, we want to use present perfect. So in this case, have shown. Present perfect, has given, have shown, has been, has done. So with over, we need to use that grammar. So first sentence, over recent times, people have shown great interest in knowing more about their ancestors and background, and have used various methods to conduct this research. And that's true. So, over recent times, people have become more and more interested in their family trees, and they've done that research using different things, including websites, including public libraries, what have you. Before we continue, one thing to also note is that each sentence should be between sort of around 15 and 25 words. That's a good academic length for the IELTS essay. 15 to 25 is good. Sometimes we will write very short sentences, but that's cool. That's fine because the sentence will require us to do that, and I'll show that as we go through. So helicopter overview, we've got around, probably here 20 to 25 words. What we're going to do now is we're going to respond to the closed question immediately. Remember, we've got 2 questions to respond to. The closed question we want to do quite quickly and then finish that, allowing us to focus on that longer list that we prepared earlier. So here it is. The next sentence is coming across now. We're going to do, considering the question around whether or not researching one's family tree is beneficial, I firmly believe it is, owing to the fact that much can be learned about oneself and one's ancestors. You might recall earlier we did that little format of considering the question around X, I firmly believe X, owing to X. So what we've said here is considering the question around whether or not researching one's family tree is beneficial, I firmly believe it is, owing to the fact that much can be learned about oneself and one's ancestors. So yeah, we're basically saying this is beneficial. Yes, it's beneficial. I believe it's beneficial because we can learn a lot about us and about our past. Then we're going to copy in a very short sentence that really looks at the broad response to the open question. The open question was what can result from doing so. We're saying possible outcomes from doing such research will be outlined below. So in the opening paragraph, we've got our helicopter overview. We've then got our response to the do you think it's a waste of time? So considering the question around whether we think it's a waste of time, we say no, it's not, owing to the fact that much can be learned. Cool. Good. Let's go. So first paragraph finished. We're doing well. You'll notice sentence 3 is quite short, and that's okay. That allows us to introduce the rest of the content. Okay, guys, let's go. So first supporting paragraph. We're now going to take those ideas down into each of these sections. So first one we're going to do is like we talked about with those structures before. So firstly, it can be argued that, now we're going to do the by plus ing. So firstly, it can be argued that by researching one's family tree, one can not only learn about the geography where one's ancestors lived, but also the culture from those regions. This grammar is called negative inversion or negative adverbial inversion. We've got not only but also. Not only but also is great grammar. 2 things to consider here. The examiner is looking for uncommon sort of vocabulary and advanced grammar structures where you can produce them. 2, when you write negative adverbial inversions, in this case, not only but also, the sentences are a bit longer, so don't be afraid if the number goes over 25. That's fine, because we're showing the examiner, hey, this is our vocabulary, this is what we can produce, we're happy with that. So firstly, it can be argued that by researching one's family tree, we can not only learn about geography, but also about the culture from those regions. Cool. Okay, our second supporting argument, was looking about the social status of people, of our ancestors in that area. So let's look at this. Sentence 6, moreover. So we've got our firstly, moreover. So moreover is like and. Moreover, doing. So here we're starting with an ing verb. So after ing verbs, remember what we do? Ing plus modal verb can. So moreover, doing such research can allow those interested to discover more about the social status of their relatives and shed light. Shed light is shine the light on why they did certain things. So you might think, why did my ancestors live here? Or why did they do that? And then you look into it and you think, oh, that's interesting. Okay, now we're going to do that despite the fact argument where someone says, yeah, but. So we've got despite, okay? Despite the fact, so this is a contrast sentence. Despite the fact that such research can be costly and time-consuming, so that's the yeah, but. Then we respond to the yeah, but, and we say, well, it can be equally argued that if done, much can be uncovered and learned. So yes, it's costly and time-consuming, but if you do it, you can learn a lot and you can uncover. Uncover is, things that aren't necessarily known. You can uncover that information. Guys, we're doing well here. We've done our first and second paragraphs. So let's move on to the next paragraph, which is paragraph 3. What we're going to do now is, because we had 2 positives and 2 negatives, we're going to use the on the other hand. Let's do this right now. So we're going to change the focus here. So first paragraph was obviously the introduction. Second paragraph was the good things that we can sort of uncover, and then there was a contrast. We're now going to focus on those negative things that could be uncovered and the contrast. So on the other hand, again, ing verb. On the other hand, researching the past can also lead to the discovery of distressing information. Distressing information is information that can make you stressed, anxious, such as the existence of those who committed heinous crimes. Heinous is a word in English that means really quite shocking, brutal crimes. So imagine that, you do your family tree and you discover that one of your ancestors, committed shocking crimes against other people, and that would be quite distressing. That would be very, anxiety provoking. It would make you quite stressed. So that's the first one. The second argument here is we've got our furthermore. So you'll notice the language, I keep changing what I'm doing here. So we've got the furthermore. And don't worry about the colors, guys. Sometimes they're coming out blue, sometimes they're coming out pink. I'll change them so they're all blue later. So furthermore, devastating diseases such as Alzheimer's, which can be genetically transmitted from one generation to the next, can be discovered. So we've got here devastating. So moreover, devastating diseases can be discovered. Devastating diseases such as Alzheimer's, which can be genetically transmitted, can be discovered. So in the middle there, you've got what is called a non-defining relative clause, which is in between the commas, the which. So that which part can be taken out. It's called a non-defining clause because that part doesn't actually define Alzheimer's or genetic diseases. So we could remove that. The sentence could be, furthermore, devastating diseases such as Alzheimer's can be discovered. But we want to talk more about Alzheimer's. So we say, furthermore, devastating diseases such as Alzheimer's, which can be genetically transmitted from one generation to the next, can be discovered. Okay, contrast and rebuttal. So we're going to give our, that contrast sentence, and then the yeah, but is going to come up at the end. Let's do that now. So we have here, although many may argue that such discoveries can be positive, as illnesses can be diagnosed and treated early. That was the yeah, but. And now we're going to respond to that and say, it remains a fact that when shocking discoveries are made, they can have serious consequences on mental health. So if you discover that one of your ancestors is a murderer, you may become very, very stressed, and it may affect your psychology. So these are things that, that could happen, can happen. I'm sure they've happened before. That's our essay, guys. It's basically finished now. Our conclusion is next. We're going to break that up into 2 sentences. The first section here is in consideration, so again, when considering the question, so in consideration of those points outlined above, I reaffirm that countless discoveries can be made. Countless is lots and lots and lots. Countless discoveries can be made, allowing people to better understand their past and their present. Yeah, that's our restatement of position. Our position was, those things that can be discovered will be outlined below. We outlined them, so we're just restating that again very, very broadly. We're not going into any detail here. The last one is some sort of forward forecast into the future. Let's look at that. So we've got here, in the years to come, it's highly likely that advanced technologies will make such research easier and easier, leading to more people doing it. That's it. As we mentioned before, we want to stick to a structure. Task considerations is we should spend about 40 minutes on this task. This will be combined with your task 1. This is called a task 2 essay. So you should spend about 40 minutes on this, and you need to write at least 250 words. So we don't want to aim for 250. We want to make sure that the minimum of 250 has been written. If I go down below now, again, this is the document, guys, I'll give you a little bit later. So we've got here, conducting research into one's family is now common. Do you think it's a waste of time? What can result? I've pre-written this before we went live today. So here it is. And the word count is 67, 83, 82, and 49, giving us 281 words. The count I always try to work around is 70, 75, 75, 60. Often what happens is the conclusions can be less. In this case, it's 49. So if we go over in sections 2 and 3, writing less in the last paragraph can help us achieve less of a word count. In this case, 281. We were aiming for 280, which is fantastic. Now, guys, in terms of an IELTS score, this is a very indicative band score. Obviously, examiners who would review a piece like this, each of them would provide their score based on the band descriptors that they have with them. But as a very indicative band score, the task response here is 9 because we have directly responded to the question that was asked of us. Coherence and cohesion. Coherence is, can I really understand it? Cohesion is, does it flow? Does it flow nicely? And we've taken the reader and the listener on a journey with this essay. We've sort of flowed it through very nicely. Lexical resource is the grammar that we've used. So, is the vocab that we have used. So we've used lots of quite interesting vocab today, and we can obviously go back and look at that post video. And the grammar range and accuracy, we've used lots of grammar. We've used our inversions, we've used all our different sentence structures, our ing structures, our by plus ing structures. So I would be quietly confident that a band score of 9 can be achieved with this piece of writing. All right, guys, we are done. Again, thank you for joining us live today. Yeah, it's pretty cool to sort of do this with you guys. I'm really enjoying doing these live classes and starting this off. This is our third live class, our third episode of BandscoreCast. And in the future, we're going to be looking at a whole range of other different things, grammar classes, vocab classes, task 1 classes, also for general and academic. So if you have any comments, or if you'd like for me to look at anything particular, please feel free to comment below the video once posted to the BandscoreCast YouTube channel. Speaking of which, you can find us at BandscoreCast handle at Twitter, the BandscoreCast handle at Instagram, and the BandscoreCast page on Facebook. Thanks, guys. Really cool working with you again today, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Ciao.